The level of detail in every single frame is insane, not just in the drawings, but in what the drawings represent, their original folklore and inspirations and all that. I really appreciate when someone can be so meticulous about their craft, sacrificing everything for the sake of chasing perfection. This is me personally, I really admire that. Personally, I love how the movie follows the hero's journey and how the main character is named Chihiro, Chihiro's journey. I don't think that was intentional, maybe it was, but it all worked out in the end. But you probably already know that. In fact, you probably know more about the movie than I do. I'm thinking what can I say about this movie that hasn't been said already? Nothing. Literally nothing. People have made hour-long video essays analyzing every single scene. That's not an exaggeration. Multiple YouTubers have made it their mission to deeply analyze literally every single scene of the entire movie, frame by frame. There was nothing new I can bring to the table. Just search Spirited Away on YouTube and watch to your heart's content. But to put it simply, overconsumption is bad. Too much of anything good is bad. Don't forget who you are and where you came from. Be curious. Ask questions. Learn about the world around you and about your inner self. Be kind. Help others. The usual morals of the story, right? It's all there. I'm really underselling this movie. It's one of the most beautifully crafted stories I've ever seen. Through painstaking detail, it's flawlessly put together to imply these morals, all equally as subtle as the next in their delivery. I feel like maybe I might just be able to add one thing. You see, Miyazaki's a weird dude. If you can only say one word to describe him, it's passionate. About his art, about his family, about whatever. He's got a fire in his eyes, and it never really went out the way it did for so many people in the same position. Considering his, controversies, I feel like there was a second message the movie had. Everyone interprets this movie as Japan is so enveloped by capitalistic greed and, the modern culture is killing traditional values of family and restraint and all that kind of stuff. But I think there's something a little more. Intentional or not, this philosophy translates perfectly into other parts of Miyazaki's life. In particular, the world is slowly abandoning hand-drawn animation in favor of new tech that takes much less effort. I feel like this is sort of a warning to not only creators but also viewers. Don't overindulge in this kind of media. Don't relentlessly push for creators to create unlimited amounts of content. Don't forget where you came from. And for creators, be careful not to lose yourself and lose sight of what you came here to do. You had a passion for animation as a child. Don't grow up to then make cash grab show after cash grab show. Maybe that's, the hidden message of the movie. Innovation will come, but learn restraint. Don't let technology kill your love for animation and make you lose sight of why you even wanted to be an animator in the first place. I think a lot of cynical people who hate capitalism will watch the movie, assume it's a pure critique of capitalism, stop there, and then go around talking about how this movie proves capitalism is bad. I think this movie succeeds in proving how valuable freedom is, and whether or not you view capitalism as a catalyst or a hindrance to freedom is up to the individual. Ultimately, freedom, real freedom, comes from within oneself, but that's just me. That's what I got out of the movie. Also, after watching it for the second time, I realized that Zeniba is actually romantically involved with Haku, or at least wants to be. Haku is 12, by the way. I don't know if I misinterpreted that, but I can't be the only one. I'm also not the only one who absolutely loves this movie. The reason why Spirited Away is so loved by everyone isn't because it's some groundbreaking new thing that's never been done before. Everything this movie does has already been done, but every single thing this movie tried to do, it executed flawlessly. The cinematography and the sound design and the color and the music and the pacing. I mean, if you have a zoomer brain, then it's probably going to be a tiny bit slow, like 1% too slow. But if you just woke up after a long night of dreams and watch it before work or school or whatever while you're still tired, that should slow down your brain enough to really counteract the need for instant gratification. I watched it in English. I don't know what the consensus is on whether or not you should watch it in English or Japanese, but I know if you want to watch an anime movie in English, Ghibli movies are the safest bet. They get Disney to actually help them animate and do their dubbing for them. And the voice acting in the English is levels above the rest of the English dubbing industry for the rest of anime. Despite all the praise I'm giving it, I do still have some criticism of it. But it's more with the, lifelessness of Chihiro's character design early on and things like that, Maybe I'll get into it on a different day, but this isn't a perfect movie to me. I know other people consider it to be the greatest thing ever made, but me personally, I love it, but it's not my favorite thing ever, nor my favorite animated movie. I did like it, you know, better than Lilo and Stitch in a vacuum, but they're actually tied in my mind because when I went to see Lilo and Stitch, I went with my mom in the theater, and she loved Lilo and Stitch way more than Spirited Away. I showed Spirited Away to my mom later on when I was an adult. We watched it on the sofa together. One of my biggest regrets is not watching this movie in theaters when I had the chance. One of these days, I'm gonna pay some movie theater employees to close off a theater just for me and just watch Spirited Away just to get that experience. As much as everyone has dissected every single thing in this movie to death and come to agreements on what everything means, I think there's still a bit of room for interpretation at the end for when Chihiro correctly identifies none of the pigs as her parents. It all depends on what you resonate with, you know, what you personally feel like coming of age actually means. Personally, I think the whole thing was just like a trip, you know, it was an inner experience by only her projecting her views onto the world into a story that only her ego can understand. I think the whole thing was metaphorical. I think that this is about acceptance and that, you know, she viewed her parents as pigs because that's what they were acting like. And just as she learned to accept the world around her, Miyazaki was learning to accept the greed and gluttony around him in Japan. I really think this is some like Bridge to Terabithia type thing. I think so many movies focus on, you know, the before only or the after only. They don't focus on the transition from child to hero. Child to hero. Chihiro. From living in a dream fairy tale where nothing is wrong to seeing your own parents as flawed human beings and experiencing the nightmarish thoughts that come with that implication. All these other stories like to call themselves coming of age stories. I like to call them coming of pedophile stories. Like, who actually goes to the theater and goes like, gee, I wonder how the human body gets ready for baby making. But this right here, this is real shit. It's so immersive and it's so real because it perfectly displays how it feels to grow. I don't know if other people came to the same conclusion as me. Actually, this movie's been analyzed so much, I'm positive people have. There's really nothing new I can add to the conversation. There's something that I said a long time ago. Growing up isn't about getting a job and slaving your life away to help someone else achieve their dreams. It's about drive. It's about adopting the responsibility and capability to finally do the things you always wanted to do as a child, but were never able to do. It's also about learning to deal with tragedy. This isn't an analysis or a video essay. None of my videos are. These are all just reviews. And in my humble opinion, for a significant chunk of people, this movie is an absolute must-watch. It gets a staggering 9 out of 10. And if you find yourself having a similar taste as me in other stuff I reviewed, I highly, highly, highly recommend Spirited Away. Afraz out.
It's Filthy Frank, motherfucker. It's Filthy Frank, bitch. Let's get some pussy tonight.
Man, it doesn't matter if you 15, my nigga. I like young girls. I like them 15, 14, 16. I like them real young, my nigga. I don't like women in their 20s. All them girls in the 20s, I'm cool with them, girl. I like fucking girls like 15.